I think that you just retold the story of the fall in Genesis. You see, and I mean that because, as far as I can tell, what that story means is that at some point in time, people became conceptually sophisticated enough to understand their own vulnerability, to realize their own nakedness, to discover death, to discover the necessity of work, and to be blown out of that pre-conscious paradise into the tragic domain of history. I believe that's what that story means. And you can read that as a tragic catastrophe with no solution. And I would say, though, however, that since that time, and God only knows when that was, the human race has been collectively attempting to address that problem. And the solution that's emerged is something like, although a little bit of excess consciousness demolished us, a lot more consciousness could save us. And I think that that's the case. There's no going back, right? Alcohol makes you unconscious, for example, and that's partly why people like it. And it's not surprising. Sedatives do that. The things that people do to themselves to destroy their consciousness by distraction do that. They alleviate the terrible catastrophe of being more awake than is easy to bear. But it's the wrong solution. The right solution is to be even more awake and to pay even more attention. And there's a way out of the problem that way. And so the fall, the idea of the fall indicates that there's something about people that's irredeemably damaged. Well, perhaps not irredeemably, but seriously damaged, right? There's a schism in being, let's say, that's not easy to rectify. That's what the story indicates. And I think it's tightly tied with the kind of evolutionary process that you were just commenting on. The Irish elk was actually developed its excess antlers, the theory goes, as a consequence of female sexual selection. And of course, female human beings are very choosy maters, unlike chimpanzees, let's say. And there is reasonable evidence that one of the factors that propelled our cortical evolution forward was female sexual choosiness. And that's why, perhaps, that it's Eve that tempts Adam into self-consciousness in Genesis. And maybe that's why there's been eternal enmity between men and women ever since, because women certainly do make men self-conscious. It might be the primary effect that women have on men. That's advantageous in that more conscious men are better, but it's disadvantageous for the men in that self-consciousness is generally a very unpleasant emotion. So I would say, however, that self-consciousness is the guideway to transcendence and development, and so the best thing for human beings to do is to bear up underneath their self-conscious tragedy and to transcend past that by becoming even more conscious. And I think that's the hope that we have, and I think that that's what the great religions of the world constantly dangle before us, is that if you are suffering in your half-awake state, then it's time to wake up completely, and then perhaps that would go away. Well, we don't know, but we don't have a better option. The other option is annihilation, and that seems a bit premature, shall we say.